Hello, everyone. I almost didn't do this lesson because there's really nothing new here. However, I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I think it's good to see some of the shortcuts or common occurrences that occur with these special cases. Okay, so if you don't understand the shortcuts, you could essentially skip this lesson, okay? If you do understand the shortcuts, life can get a little bit easier for you. So let's just look at it. Now, use what you know about exponents to multiply. So x plus 3 squared. Here's what I see a lot of people write. They'll write x squared plus 9. That will be an option on your final. That will be an option on your test. It's wrong. It's there to distract you. Okay. X plus 3 squared means I'm taking x plus 3 times itself. Let's write that out. X plus 3 times x plus 3. Okay. That should, when you write it that way, should tell you to FOIL. So we should be good with that now. X times x, x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 3 times x is 3x. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Combine your middle terms, you get x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay. Now, it says try these three. I'm going to try and make this so that everything shows up because I want to be able to refer back to these as I go through the shortcuts. So x minus 5 squared. Rewrite it. X minus 5 times x minus 5. And now I'm going to FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times negative 5, negative 5x. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Combine my like terms. Negative 10x plus 25. I'm going to go quickly here. You know how to do all this. Like I said, you know how to FOIL. We did that last lesson. That's not the point of this lesson. The point of this lesson is to see what happens once we FOIL. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times 4 is 12x. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 4 is 16. Combine those like terms. You get 9x squared plus 24x plus 16. Last one, 6x minus 1. I'm going to even do this one without the arrows at all. 6x times 6x is 36x squared. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6x. Negative 1 times 6x is negative 6x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So 36x squared minus 12x plus 1. All right, now let's look at those answers and figure out some common occurrences. In each of these problems, the binomial is being squared, right? Duh. When you have this situation, certain things always occur. The first and last term of the answer, so the answer being this part, the first and last term, so here and here, here and here, here and here, those are both always positive. You notice that? They're also perfect squares. Now, what is a perfect square? A number times itself should be able to give you that number. So what times itself gives me x squared? Well, that would be x. A number times itself gives me 25. That would be 5. A number times itself gives me 9x squared. That would be 3x. A number times itself gives me 16. That would be 4. A number times itself gives me 36x squared. That would be 6x. And a number times itself gives me 1. It's 1. So a perfect square is basically the square root of that number is a good number, right? If you want me to explain that a little bit more, I can ask in class, put a little star next to that. The middle term has the same sign as the original problem. So in the first one, the original problem was negative. Look at the sign of the middle term, it's negative. First term, or the original term was positive, positive. Original was negative, middle term, negative. The outer terms, when I multiplied, and the inner terms, when I multiplied, are the same. Okay, so I'm changing colors, and I really want to point this part out. Those middle terms, negative 5x is the outer term, negative 5x is the inner term. Okay, those middle terms are the outer and the inners. Because of that being true, there is a nice little shortcut. The shortcut we can do is multiply the two terms of the original binomial together. So like if I have a different example here, in 3n plus 5 squared, that's one of the special cases, it's like the original problem, you would multiply 3n times 5 and get 15n, right? That's like your outer terms, but then you multiply the answer by 2, since the outer terms and the inner terms are the same. So 15n is the outer term. What's the inner term? Also 15n. So I'm just going to multiply it by 2. You get 30n. 30n then is the middle term. Don't even have to really FOIL here. Okay, I'm going to clear everything. Actually, no, just want to make sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and clear everything. And we'll try using the shortcuts on the last problem here, on the last problem in the front. So without doing FOIL, I recognize that this is a special case. I got the squared there. What I need to do is with 2x, I need to square that. 2x squared is 4x squared. Then I also do negative 7 times negative 7. That's positive 49. You got to remember, though, that there is a middle term. Okay. If you forget that and just do 4x squared plus 49, you've done the mistake that I showed you at the very beginning. The middle term, I can do 2x times negative 7. So that's negative 14n, x, not n. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2, which gives me negative 28x. If you don't believe me, FOIL that. You'll get that answer. Okay. Try these three. It's the next shortcut, by the way. We're going to FOIL again, just to show you what's going on. X times x, x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Negative 4x plus 4x makes 0x, or cancels out. So I'm left with x squared minus 16. Next one, 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times 8 is 24x. Negative 8 times 3x is negative 24x. Negative 8 times 8 is negative 64. What happens? Those make 0, and I'm left with 9x squared minus 64. Last one, 4x times 4x. You might even be able to figure out what's happening here. 4x times negative 1 is negative 4x. 1 times 4x is 4x. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 16x squared minus 1. In each of these problems, the two binomials are the same except for the sign. When you have this situation, certain things happen. Before I tell you what happens, or you might already even see it, I want to make sure you understand this is important. You have to be able to identify the special case before you can use the shortcuts. If you don't even recognize it, the shortcuts don't mean anything. Okay, so if you see, oh, look, those are the exact same except for the sign, you've got this special case. All right, what happens? Well, you probably saw it, the middle term cancels, right? Why does this happen? It's because the outer terms and the inner terms are the same except for the sign. Okay. And if the signs are opposite but the numbers are the same, they're going to cancel every time. Another thing that's important, the different from the front, is that the last term is negative, not positive this time, which should make sense because you're multiplying a positive times a negative. The first term, just like on the front, is always positive. Okay, so let's try using the shortcuts on the next one. These shortcuts I think these are a little bit easier than the front. So 5x times 5x, that's 25x squared. Okay. We see the 5x match up, 2 and 2 match up, signs are opposite. We know this is a shortcut. Middle term's gone, we already know that. Negative 2 times 2 is the only thing I have to do now. It's negative 4. Done. No FOIL needed. Okay. multiply each of these problems. You may use shortcuts where appropriate. That's key, where appropriate. All right, so is it appropriate for number one? Sure, x squared. That's all. I mean, you see the squared, you know it's a situation like that. So take the first terms, square them. So x times x, x squared. Last term, square it. That's 64. Leave a space for the middle term. 8 times x equals 8x. And then times that by 2, you get 16x. Boom, done. Is number 2 a special case? Yes, x and x are the same. 1 and 1 are the same except for the sign. It's the second one. Middle term is going to cancel. So x times x is x squared. 1 times -1, -1. Done. Number 3, this is why it's important to check for it first. Those are not the same. They look very similar, but they're not the same. There's no shortcut here. You've got to FOIL this one. 2x times 5x is 10x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x. -5 times 5x is -25x. And then -10. Combine like terms, I get 10x squared minus 21x minus 10. Notice no special case here. So I have to go back to the original lesson 4, FOIL. Number 4, got a squared. It's a special case. 4x times itself is 16x squared. -3 times -3 is 9. Middle term, 4x times -3 is -12x. Times 2 is -24x. Okay. And that's it. If you didn't like those shortcuts, just FOIL. That's all I got to tell you. All right. That's pretty basic. Yep. Let me know if you have any questions.